All right, guys, as you're hopping on here, I will get started in about 2 or 3 minutes here, give people a little bit of time to hop on here while we're live for our talk. And so just going to let some people hop on. We'll get started about 6:15 Central Standard Time. Got about 25 slides I'm going to go through for you guys, so I'm excited to go through them all. But we'll just give it a few minutes here and let everybody hop on that's going to be live. Welcome, everybody, as you're hopping on. I appreciate you guys joining me on a Tuesday night. I was just mentioning we'll get started here in about a minute or two. Just give everyone a little bit of time to hop on before I get rolling through this presentation that I'm super excited about. All right, guys, it is 6:15 here where I'm at. I'm in Eastern Iowa. So good to see you guys. Looks like we just have a few of the handful of registrants on, but there'll be a replay as well. So even if you're watching live, you missed something, make sure you grab that replay. It'll come to you guys via email. But I'm Dr. Tyler, chiropractor here at the Wellness Way in Coralville. Super excited to do a talk here on autism. I have tons of patients with autism, and the results that I'm getting are phenomenal. And I'm very excited to get to chat with you guys more about some of the things I do, teach you a little bit about autism. We're going to go through what symptoms really mean and how they're actually a signal for your guys's for the health of these kids and even adults. I have some high functioning adult autism as well, but a lot of the symptoms are just going to be signals of what's going on deeper down. So let's dive into this. We'll go through a little bit about the presentation. We'll go through some symptoms. We'll go through some testing, and we'll talk more about what that looks like with the kids with autism that I'm seeing. So number one, if you guys are here tonight, you're watching live, you're watching the replay, there's probably because something doesn't feel right? Whether it's you, whether it's your kid, most likely it's probably your kid for the topic that we're on today. But with that, deep down, you guys know something more is going on. And that's what a lot of these parents tell me when I'm talking to them. Hey, Dr. Tyler, I know there's something underlying. It's got to be in his gut. It's got to be a toxicity. It's got to be, X, Y, Z. And you guys are right. There's definitely something deeper down that could be missed. And so you've tried a lot of the therapies. You've asked questions, and yet it just feels like there's something missing. And I want to show you guys tonight what that missing piece just might be. So these are not random. These are patterns: speech delays, stimming, aggression, meltdowns, destructive play, poor sleep, picky eating, head banging, gut issues. Now, that is by no means a comprehensive list of the symptoms that I see in kids with autism. That's just some of the more common ones that I see. And just because it's common does not mean that it's normal. But these are common symptoms that I see with kids in autism. So what if the behavior and the symptoms that you guys have been told to manage are actually messages from the body just asking for help? That's what I want you guys to look at it as. I don't want you to look at it as a disease. I don't want you to look at it as a dysfunction. I want you to look at the body is asking for help. It's not just a speech delay. It's not just a gut issue. It's not just a behavior issues. These are clusters, right? These are clusters of symptoms. I've never once had an autistic kid come into my office and only have one symptom, right? There's clusters of symptoms. And in health, we can say clusters mean one thing, that there's a deeper underlying root cause going on. And we can dive into that with what that is. And honestly, I should have said root causes, because I've never had one thing be the issue, right? There's multiple things that are going on from that degree. So why do parents feel stuck? Let's talk about the current approach to autism. So current treatments for autism, this is from the cdc.gov. Current treatments for autism ASD seek to reduce symptoms that interfere with daily function and quality of life. Reduce symptoms. The current approach to autism is nothing more from a medical standpoint than to reduce symptoms. If all we're doing is reducing symptoms, we're doing nothing more than putting a Band-Aid on a cut. Does that actually heal the cut? No, we heal from the inside out, correct? And so if we're just reducing symptoms, we're masking what's actually creating the issues. Here's a study on comprehensive management of autism. This is from PubMed. And so you can see the PMCID there. That's the code for the article. You guys can look it up if you want. The abstract: autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder. I don't want you to think of it as a disorder. I want you to think of it as a response characterized by impaired social interaction, verbal and nonverbal communication, repetitive restricted behaviors. The goals of treatment are to target core behavior, improve social interaction and communication, and reduce disruptive behavior. This paper does it through pharmaceuticals. Obviously not my approach with that. However, what do we see when we read that abstract? We want to reduce disruptive behavior. We want to improve social interactions. What are we doing? We're saying, oh, there's something wrong from a symptomatic standpoint, but we don't know why. We're just going to try to make their symptomatic response better. That's the wrong approach, and we'll see why. So what does the current approach look at when it comes to autism? We focus on the diagnosis, not the cause. That's not a good start. We focus on the behavior, not the biology, not the physiology, not the why this is happening. We don't test for root causes, right? Most autism diagnosis, there's no lab that does it. It's just the doctor has an opinion that your kid has probably hit enough of their markers on this piece of paper to say, yep, they have autism. Well, what level? Oh, level 2. There's no really testing. There's no testing for the whys. And right now, if the mainstream approach to autism is what I call the wait and see approach, right? Your kid has autism. Well, what do? Maybe leucovorin, maybe this, maybe that, and see you in 6 months, right? We're not actually addressing what can drive these symptoms. And it's not that these people don't care. It's their approach, and they're not looking in the right places. And that's exactly what I want to show you tonight, of how we can look in the right places to help these kids. So let's talk genetics. I know out of the 8 of you on here, there's 79 people registered. So I know people are going to be watching the replay too. I'm super excited for them to see that. But I know out of people on here and people watching the replay that some, if not all of you, have been told that autism is genetic. I want to dive into this, and I want to give you some information on it. So let's look at the definition of a gene. So this is from dictionary.com, medically reviewed dictionary.com. So genes are segments of DNA. So DNA is nothing more than what tells our body what to do, right? DNA gives your cells instructions on how to respond, whether it's hair color, heart beating. They come in pairs. You get one from your mom, one from your dad. Let's keep it very simple. So then let's look at, from the CDC, what affects genes. Genes we inherit are determined by our parents. Absolutely. You are given the genes that you are given at birth from your parents. One from your mom, one from your dad. That's what you're given. Yep. The activity and the expression are shaped by lifestyle, environment, age, through epigenetics. Factors like diet, stress, exercise, smoking. Clearly don't think that many kids are smoking, but it's in there. Environmental toxins, radiation, chemicals, heavy metals. They tag your DNA to turn your genes on or off without changing the genetic code. So if that's the case, how can we say that autism's genetic if we know what triggers genes on or off, and that doesn't necessarily change the genetic code itself? Now, if you want to talk about something like a Down syndrome, trisomy 21, that's a different conversation, right? But when we talk about autism, not only do we have dictionary proof, but in my practice, most parents can tell me that the kid was developing, that the kid was doing well, doing better, started regressing. So the way that I want you to think of genes, I have two analogies. One's on the screen here, and I'm going to give you another one. On or off. Think of it like a light switch. The room you're in right now, is the light on or off? If the switch is on, light turns on. If the switch is off, light turns off. What does that? You did that. So what does that do in our bodies? Our choices turn our genes on or off. Our stressors turn our genes on or off. So think of it as this. Genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. So that means genetics may create a susceptibility, may put certain kids more prone to an autism diagnosis, to chronic illness, but they do not determine the outcome. And I want to make that very clear that they do not determine the outcome. And there's many things that you can do to start to support your genes, to start to support your inflammatory levels that we're going to get into tonight. So now with genetics, what are some of the biggest factors I see in autistic kids? So diet, what kind of foods are they eating? Obviously, they're going to be more picky. What are they going to trend towards? They're going to trend towards foods that are going to hit the dopamine receptor more. I think we can all agree on this talk here that it's a lot more fun to eat a piece of chocolate than it is a nice organic salad with a steak, right? That's a neurotransmitter thing, but diet plays a big role. Gut microbiome imbalances. How do we know if their gut microbiome's imbalanced? We're going to take a look at that. Gut infections. How do we know if they have infections? Chronic inflammatory response. Chronically overactive immune responses, mitochondrial stress, environmental toxins, nutrient deficiencies, vaccines and medications. Those are going to create deficiencies. They're going to change the immune response, sleep imbalances. You can see on my chart there too. There's a lot of different ones in there as well. Exercise, the state of your gut, certain medications, social contact. So these are the things that can affect our genes. But we have to look at it from a what's turning the gene on and off, not that it's actually the gene's issue, right? The DNA is responding to these stressors. And so let's reframe autism. It's not just a neurological issue. It needs a whole body approach. When you start to address the whole body, you can start to heal. You can start to see change. When there's a lot of stress on the nervous system and the immune system, which I would argue are the two most important systems in anybody, but especially kids with autism, because if your nervous system fails, that's your whole powerhouse to your body. Your body is going to fail. So we will see the body ask for help through symptoms, right? I think of it this way. So genetics, right? Think of another analogy, right? We see it through symptoms. Let's think of a mailman. What's a mailman do, right? Here's the mail, go deliver it. Perfect. What do our genes do? What do our hormones do? What do our neurotransmitters do? Here's the stressors, go respond, right? So that's the same concept when we talk about symptoms. We have to stop treating the symptoms, addressing the symptoms, and we have to start finding the why. So what creates stress and damage on our bodies and on our nervous systems? That's going to be the things on the right here. I call them the 3 T's. Traumas, physical stressors, toxins, chemical stressors, thoughts, emotional stressors. We can make it very simple by looking at those 3. Now, symptoms equal signals. Symptoms are like a check engine light on your car. We're going to go through that analogy a little bit more on the next slide. But let's put some of the symptoms that are commonly seen with autism to what a possible signal could be. Stimming, nervous system dysregulation, constipation, gut dysfunction, microbiome imbalances. You could add infections to that. Obviously, this is not a comprehensive list. This is just to get you guys thinking about what it could really mean. Speech delay, neuroinflammation, deficiencies, aggression, sensory overload, chronic inflammation, poor sleep, cortisol dysregulation, neurotransmitter issues. Those are just some of the many. I could have a whole talk on this slide, but you can start to see the symptom. What does that possibly mean in the body? Now let's talk about the check engine light. So if your check engine light lights up on your dashboard, check engine light comes on. What are you going to do? You wouldn't just rip out the dashboard and say, it's fixed. right? The light's gone, it's fixed. But that's exactly what the approach to autism is right now. These kids' check engine lights are on, and all we're trying to do is turn the light off. We're just turning the symptoms off, trying to get the check engine light to go away so we can turn our head, instead of saying, hey, why are they there? Does the car not have oil? Does the car not have gas? That's the big question that we need to ask. And so that is what we want to look into. We want to figure out why the check engine light's on so that things can get better. The car can run better. Does that ever mean the check engine light won't come back on? Nope. But we can dig into it again at that point. So some of the real drivers of autism. I got 5 on here, not a comprehensive list, just 5 common ones that I see in my practice with autistic kids. And I have a wide variety of different symptoms and presentations, and we'll talk about that. Number 1, gut dysfunction. What does the gut microbiome look like? Do they have infections? Do they have leaky gut? Tons of inflammation, poor digestion and absorption. What does that look like from a symptomatic standpoint? Could be constipated, could be a picky eater, could be bloated, could have skin concerns. The gut's still inflamed, the body's never going to heal. The gut microbiome plays a role in the immune response, plays a role in the neurotransmitter production, plays a role in pretty much every function of our body. And as you can see there, a simple stool test, comprehensive stool test, starts to dive into that. We're going to go more in depth into what a stool test really looks like and the importance of it for these kids with autism. Number 2, immune dysregulation, chronic inflammatory response, overactive immune system. I want to hit on that one a little bit more because what really happens? I see tons of autistic kids with suppressed immune systems, getting sick all the time, picking up every virus. Every time his kids at school are sick, they're sick. I hear this every day, guys. What happens? The immune system was overactive at one point from a stressor, things that we talked about before, things that we're going to dive into. Then it's going to crash down because it's going to try to keep the body in more of a homeostasis is what we call it. Could see skin issues with immune dysregulation. I hear a lot from my parents with kids with autism early on. They're not catching every sickness anymore. Yeah, because we took stress off their immune system. We peeled back that layer of that onion and got to the next one. We're supporting because really chronic inflammation, I call it the silent killer, guys. Whether you see on there cardiovascular, Alzheimer's, autoimmune, arthritis, autism, it's going to drive stress. It's going to drive us into a suppressed state. These could look like skin issues again, frequent sicknesses. I hit on that already. Many different symptoms here, but the immune dysregulation, whatever that stressor looks like, whatever state that immune system's in, major driver. Number 3, toxin load, whether it's molds, metals, poor detox pathways, could be hyperactive, could have a sensory issue, could have a skin issue again. 2 kids can be exposed to the exact same toxin. Why is one fine but the other struggles? It's not just what they're exposed to. How can their body detoxify it? How can their body clear it? How can their body handle that? Do they have maybe an MTHFR gene mutation? Do they have other stressors on their body? And I love the overflowing bucket analogy. And I say it like this. We're like a 5-gallon bucket, guys. You have a water hose, you're filling a 5-gallon bucket. 2 things, right? If you don't shut the water off or take the hose out or put a hole in the bucket, 3 things, I guess, it's going to overflow. That same thing goes for our nervous system, our immune system, our body. You know, I know some of the ones on there aren't going to relate to a young kid, but junk food, stress, chemicals, medications, pollutants, they start to fill that bucket up. That bucket starts to spill over. What's a spillover bucket really show? Symptoms. Is the symptom the issue? Or do we need to start to make more room in that bucket so their bodies can adapt, so their bodies can be in homeostasis, so their bodies can thrive, function, and start to see the improvement that we're looking for? And we'll see more of that in some examples later on. Number 4, mitochondrial dysfunction. I know everyone's heard the word mitochondria, but what is a mitochondria? It's the energy producing cells of our body. If those don't have energy, the brain can't have energy. Brain fatigue, low energy production, oxidative stress, poor fatty acid breakdown. And when I say low energy production, I'm not talking about energy to jump on a trampoline, go outside and play. A lot of these kids actually have high energy in that matter. I'm talking about energy for normal physiology, for detox pathways, for neurotransmitter support, for calmness, for speech, for the things that we're seeing an issue in. Could be a speech delay, could have poor focus. One response I see a lot. Hey, the therapies are saying that he's focusing a lot better. He seems to be understanding. He's more calm. Yeah, because we took stress off his body. We looked at things with the right approach. Every cell in our body runs on energy. Every cell. Same thing with your phone. If the energy runs out, it shuts off. Guys, if our body runs out of energy, what's going to happen? The brain doesn't have it, it can't perform. You can see focus drops, speech drops, development drops, more picky eating, more tantrums. The list goes on and on with it, but we have to support the energy producing cells of the body. Number 5, nervous system dysregulation. Are they in fight or flight? What's their vagal tone look like? Sensory overloads. Do they have tantrums, poor sleep, stimming? You're not just seeing a behavior, you're seeing an overloaded nervous system. On my diagram there, you guys can see the difference between parasympathetic, rest and digest, and sympathetic, fight or flight. Let's just use the pupils. Fight or flight, we're dilated. Pupils, rest and digest, we're constricted. It goes all throughout our body, guys. That nervous system you're looking at right there is the light switch to our body. If that's not functioning, if that has too much stress, the body's going to show it. And it's so important that we get that addressed and we start to support their immune systems, their nervous systems, so they can get more into the rest and digest healing side of things than the fight or flight sympathetic tone. And this is the approach. So right now, I called a fireman and I called a carpenter, right? If your guys' house is on fire tonight, and I hope don't wish that upon anybody, right? What are you going to do? You're not going to call a dentist. You're not going to call a carpenter. You're going to say, get the fire department here. They're going to put the fire out. You're going to be thankful that the fire got put out, but your house is destroyed. Do they come back with their axe and hose and rebuild that for you? No. You call carpenter. They have the right tools. They have the right mindset. They help you rebuild your house. So thank gosh we have the firemen and the medical approach. They save tons of lives, but they focus on the symptoms. They focus on the symptomatic suppression, right? They're trying to suppress why the check engine light's on. The carpenter, the approach that I like to take is rebuilding that function. Why did the house catch on fire? What led to this? How can we rebuild it to a point where it won't catch on fire again? And that's the main difference in the approaches to autism. So let's talk about a scenario that I had. So I had a 5-year-old boy diagnosed with autism at 2 years old. He's 5 years now, diagnosed at 2. He had symptoms. They're not random. They showed me a pattern. So between his brain and behavior, what'd that look like? Speech delay. He stims a lot. He has a lot of meltdowns, bangs his head, gut, super constipated 2 to 3 times a week, super bloated, poor sleeper, picky eating. I just picked the top kind of symptoms that he had. He had more, but generally you can see that he had some gut stuff, some brain stuff, some other symptoms going on. What did we find? We start here up on the top left. His digestion's subpar. He doesn't have the proper enzymes. He's not breaking protein down at a good level. What's protein needed for? Well, our brain's 96% proteins and fats. So if we don't have proper protein breakdown, are we fueling our brain with proper gasoline? Are we trying to put diesel in a car that needs super unleaded, right? What kind of gas are we giving that brain? Okay, digestion's not great. Inflammation's off the charts. Calprotectin, EPX, IgA. He's itching out of his skin, but he can't tell his mom because he can't communicate. That's like having a sunburn on your skin that's so bad that it's welting and there's nothing you can do about it, but it's going on inside and he can't communicate what he's feeling. Infections, bacteria off the charts, yeast off the charts, parasites. Can you agree with me that these types of responses are going to stress out a nervous system and an immune system? Gut microbiome off the charts. Clostridium high, one of the most common bacteria I see elevated in kids with autism. We're starting to understand why the check engine light was on in the car instead of just trying to turn it off. This was just the stool test. We did an oat test. What do we find? Oxalates elevated, mitochondrial markers disrupted, mitochondrial functions disrupted. What do we see in neurotransmitters? Them themselves look good. Oh, but at the bottom, we see 39, 34 off the charts. Tons of neuroinflammation going on. man, I can really start to see why this kid is having the symptoms that he is. His methylation, he's not detoxifying well. Does he have a gene mutation? Maybe. We can support. We can open up those pathways. We can make sure the light switch is turning on and not off. What do we see? We see bacterial markers high, more Clostridium markers. And this, guys, is why guessing on health, whether it's autism, your health, your family's health, does not work. We have to get the answers why. And we start to put together, man, I totally understand why he's feeling the way that he is. And guess what? His parents saw this. They cried. They're like, oh my gosh, first time we've ever done a test with our son since he got diagnosed that starts for us to understand why he's responding the way that he is. So what do we do about this? This is what we found. We started to remove inflammatory foods. It's a lot easier said than done in kids with autism. I'll be the first to say that. What's that do? That reduces that inflammatory response in his gut, calms it down. Inflammation is a very hyperactive thing. We supported his gut based off what we found there. Some herbs, some supplements, some changes. We found deficiencies. We helped regulate his nervous system. He got adjusted. He did some physical things. What did this lead to? He started saying words. I think it was consult 2, maybe 1. His mom said that he started saying bye. He started saying mom. He started saying out of context words. She hadn't heard him talk in 3 years. He talked a little bit, babbled a little bit before the diagnosis. Now he's talking again. That's life-changing for these parents. His bowels, they're daily. Man, he's going to the bathroom every day. It's good consistency. What's that show me? He's starting to detox things better. That's our major detox pathway. His skin, it went from itching, it went from red, it went from rashes to starting improving. There's more to go, but it's moving in a good direction. Fewer meltdowns. Verbatim. I took him to the park. Usually I have to stay on him. He played by himself. He actually interacted with other kids. I didn't have to watch him walk. I didn't have to walk with him the entire time. He figured out how to climb up and go down the slide. He doesn't have a meltdown when we have to tell him he can't have something anymore. All because we said, hey, that check engine light's on, but we want to know why. We don't want to just shut it off. And this is what happens when we address the why. We move in a direction that's healing, that's vibrant, that's hope. And he's feeling better, less stress on his parents. The family dynamics are even better at this point. All because I said, hey, I'm done looking at the check engine light. I want to know why. Does the car need gas? Does it need oil? What does it need? And I found what this engine needed. And I started giving it to him. And it started up. Now it's driving down the interstate. Now he's scoring better in school. He's interacting with friends. Family's noticing it. It's a phenomenal life-changing thing for this, not just this kid, this family in general. So what does our approach look like? Number 1, we got to identify that check engine light. And that comes from proper testing. You don't know what's going on inside the car unless you look into some testing. We remove those triggers. We rebuild the body. We help regulate the nervous system. And we support. What's support look like? Looks like going to the gas station to make sure your car has gas. That's what we do. And we reduce that stress. We reduce that inflammation on the body, and the body begins to heal. It's taking stress off. The body knows what to do. You just got to help it find why the check engine light's on. Common mistakes that I see. Number 1, isolation approach. Only doing one therapy, not assessing the gut, deficiencies, immune stressors. And I love therapy for these kids. Most of them are already in therapy. And what's the feedback I get once we start looking at why the check engine light's on? He's doing better in therapy. He's understanding more. We're getting great feedback from the AVA therapies that we've never gotten before because his body's not in such fight or flight. He's able to understand. He's able to process. He's able to learn. He's starting to trend in a direction that he's never trended before. Waiting it out. Earlier is always better. It's not going to get better. The check engine light just doesn't go off on its own. We got to get into it, right? Earlier is always better. Random supplements. I love using supplements. I never use them randomly. I call that throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping it sticks. A lot of these kids have done supplements. Dr. Tyler, I've tried that one. It hasn't worked. What's the quality of that supplement? Where's the lab to show that he needs that supplement? Makes a world of difference when you become focused and you become very pinpoint on what the body needs. Number 4, being told nothing can be done. There's absolutely things that can be done for these kids. And the doctors and the parents and the stories I hear, it's so sad. There's absolutely things that can be done. And I hear sad stories about it every single day about nothing can be done. You know, your kid's it's a lifelong disease. I see it every day, guys. I see life-changing things every single day. And yet these parents are telling me that these doctors are telling them that there's nothing that can be done. It's their approach. It's not them. They don't mean it. It's what they have in their toolbox, drugs and surgery. There's no drug for autism. You can argue leucovorin. Some kids do great on it. Some kids struggle with it. Why is that? Where was the test to show why the check engine light's on? That's why. It depends on the labs. Depends on what that body needs. So what's possible? Really everything. I've seen the sky's the limit, guys, when you start to approach the body on why the check engine light's on. Imagine your kid sleeping, communicating better, talking to you, trying to have conversations with you, interacting with siblings better, being calmer. And our goal is purely to improve function and quality of life. Because when the body's supported, these kids can absolutely thrive. And nobody can tell me different because I see it every single day in front of my eyes. I watch it happen, and they can tell me all they want. They can throw the research out there that I did that it needs to be pharmaceutical to suppress the symptoms, but nobody can change my experiences, these parents' experiences, these kids' experiences, and the progress that they're making. So if you guys are here tonight, you're still on here, you're watching the replay, and something's clicking, do not ignore it. Remember, guys, earlier the better. Don't let the check engine light stay on longer than it needs to. The kids that get the best results are the ones that have the parents that act. And you guys don't need more guesswork. You've had guesswork. The whole life leading up to this has been guesswork. You guys need answers to why the check engine light stays on. That is what we do. So if you've been feeling stuck, I tried to give you guys a lot of good information, common things I see, and you're ready to take the next step. Schedule a consult with me. I'll help you identify why that check engine light's on. I'll help you build a personalized plan to help your kids thrive. Or maybe it's you, help you thrive. You can scan my QR code. You can schedule with me. You can shoot me a message, whatever it takes. I'm here to help you guys. And I did throw a little caveat in there. If you guys do schedule with the QR code, I'll throw the link in the chat as well. I'm going to answer questions if you guys have any here in a second. But if you schedule by 10 tonight, I see it come through. I'll give you guys $75 credit, $75 off, however you want to think about it, towards the labs that these kids need. Because it's so important that they get what they need. And it makes a world of difference for them. So hope you guys learned something tonight. If you're watching the replay, you guys feel free to email me as well with questions. If you guys have questions while you're on here, drop it in the chat. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'll put that, if you're having trouble with the QR code, I'll put that schedule link in the chat quick. But I'm going to stay on for a little bit here, see if any questions come through. If not, hope everybody has a great Tuesday. Hope you guys learned something. And as always, like I said, I'm here for you guys. Ask me questions as you guys need them. I just threw the link in the chat. So if you're having an issue with the QR code, you're interested in scheduling to talk with me, use the link, get that scheduled. Be happy to help your kids. So have a great Tuesday, everybody. I'll stay on for a few minutes here, just see if any questions come in the chat. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys hopping on. Do I have this recorded? Yep. So if you, since you registered to be on the talk, there'll be, once I end it, I think it's an hour after, so maybe 30 minutes. I'm not exactly sure on the time. It'll send you the full recording. Yep. Dee Dee, how soon can we get a consult? I have availability the rest of this week to some degree, next week for sure. The first consult's $175. You can schedule that right through the platform, the link. And then $75 of that, you can think of it however you want. Either I'm discounting your new patient $75 or I'm giving you a credit towards testing. So you get $75 credit towards that testing discount, however you want to think of it. Is there anything you recommend to help stabilize the gut before we are able to get testing done? Great question. Generally speaking, things like yeast, gluten, added sugars, processed dairy, food dyes, artificial sweeteners, cutting those out can make a world of difference, especially gluten. Secondly, doing things to support a good gut microbiome. You can throw in some aloe vera juice. You can throw in some like aloe is really good, but sauerkraut bean. I know sauerkraut's hard for some of them to eat. Generally speaking, I would focus on the diet at that point. Cutting gluten out, cutting yeast out. You'll see a big change in their mood just with cutting out inflammatory foods. Nelly, payment plans. Down the road, once we get the testing back, we do have payment options. The new patient consult, we don't really have a payment plan for, but down the road for consults, absolutely, we have options. I can work with you guys. Lab testing, they bill me once you guys complete it, but the consult side of things, we can work on some degree of payment plan for sure, and that can be individualized to you guys. I'll talk to you guys about that. What types of tests are they? As in, do we need to do blood work? So the testing that I showed tonight was stool and urine. Have I ran blood work on an autistic kid? Yes. Do I do it very commonly? Absolutely not. It's very hard to get blood work done. It's very traumatizing. We can get a lot of information from stool and urine. Life's just a lot easier that way. So yes, I've done it. Do I do it a lot? No. Does it mean that I don't need to? Sometimes down the road when they're more calm, that kind of stuff. But no, it doesn't have to be blood work. We do have a lot of blood panels, but I do a lot of stool and urine with autistic kids to start. Yeah, great questions, guys. I appreciate the questions. What types of tests are they usually? Oh, yeah. Stool and urine usually, but we do get some blood work. So I'm in Bettendorf, Iowa. Do we come into your office or over the phone? Either way, yep. You can be in person if you'd like, or you can do remote. So when you schedule that, there'll be two options. If you want to make the trip over, I'd love to meet you in person. If it's more convenient to not make the trip over and just do it over the phone, that works. Phone consults, we have the consult, figure out what labs we need. We send them to you. If it's stool or urine, you just do it at home, send it off with the kit. They test it. We get the results, go over the phone. We ship you any supplements that you need. Obviously, if you're in person, we give you the testing. You take it with you. You get it done. So either way, both work great. Most of my patients are remote, but I do love in-person patients too. It's awesome though that you're in Bettendorf. Another Iowa patient, another Iowa colleague. I love it. Awesome, guys. Great questions. Any more questions you guys got for me? If we're very far, Massachusetts, is that an issue for testing? Nope. I have patients all over the world even. All over the world. US for sure. US is really easy. International, we just use a third party, a little bit different. But yeah, if you're in the United States, it's really easy. We can just send it to you. Super easy. I got a lot of patients on the East Coast. My daughter's 20 months. Would she benefit from adjustments? Oh yeah. Yeah. That's going to really help with the physical side of things on that slide a while back. That's going to help with the nervous system stress response. I see a lot of improvement just from adjustments. Obviously, we'd want to work on some other things as well, but absolutely, anytime we can take stress off the nervous system, that's going to be amazing, especially for kids because they're still growing. It's great for adults too, but especially for kids. Awesome, guys. Well, I have my email. That email you get, if you send a question via that email, it'll come right to me. I'll get you guys back on any questions that arise. Otherwise, you guys can reach me on that link. You guys can message me on Instagram, Facebook, call the office, whatever it takes. Reach out to me with questions. I'm happy to answer them. Hope you guys learned something tonight. I'm going to hop off here. And then, look for more talks in the future. Reach out to me with questions. Would love to help. Have a great Tuesday, everybody.